really, we were the best high school wrestling. And I don't know if people realize, in the entire country. We passed Eastern Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, WPIL, that Lehigh Valley area. We passed them in that 2007 to 2010 era. We just became dominant. 2007, I think we had 7 state champs, 9 finalists, and we just boomed. And it was because of those coaches. And I kind of started to think about the whole Shore Conference, and we're, meaning me, Danny, Jay Nace, and we'll get into some other guys. We're kind of third generation. The OGs really were John Nemitz, basically started Ocean County Wrestling in Toms River. There weren't 3 Toms Rivers. Coach Nemitz was a big part of me, even when I was in high school, coming to a lot of our matches and worked the state tournament for many, many years. And then Bernie Ryder from Jackson Memorial, a huge part of that Jackson program. And then I'm going to throw even John DeMarco, Coach DeMarco, in that early OGs, because anybody before the 80s I consider really the OGs. And John Nemitz, Bernie Ryder, and John DeMarco. John DeMarco coached 3 state champs in 1977, 76, that area. Those guys were really Ocean County wrestling. And then the first generation, the Mike Baldies, Tony Caravella, Denny DeAndrea, Pat Lynch, Ed Gilmore's, Warren Reed, spanned from OG to first generation, second generation, the Bill Savage, the Jerry Tabacinos. That, to me, was considered like first generation. And then what nobody really understands, those guys all coached for like 20 some years, 20, 25 years. And then we, meaning the class of 1990, 91, and 92, came onto the Shore Conference scene and just really, we were the best high school wrestling. And I don't know if people realize, in the entire country. We passed Eastern Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, WPIL, that Lehigh Valley area. We passed them in that 2007 to 2010 era. We just became dominant. 2007, I think we had 7 state champs, 9 finalists, and we just boomed. And it was because of those coaches from 90, 91, and 92, headed by Scott Goodell, class of 90, John Stout, class of 90, Dan O'Cone, 92, Jay Nace, 92, Dave Kirk, class of 90 from Middletown South, Chris Madigan, 92, Brian Fisher, class of 92, Jeremy Braverman, class of 92, John Murata, class of 90, Paul Oster, class of 90, Pat Smith, class of 91. I mean, we had 10 plus coaches just from the class of 90, 91, and 92. And then you throw in Gags, who was a little bit before that, Verderosa, Matt Opacity, Kenny Hoff, Sean Riley. So it was amazing how good we became just from that second generation of coaches. And, I became a better coach because of those 2 legendary coaches I wrestled for, but also you had to show up and be prepared every single match, because when you're coaching against those hammers of coaches, those teams were prepared and they were good. And, I remember Tom Brands in 2007 was quoted, "I'm recruiting New Jersey." And in 2007, by far the best area in New Jersey was the Shore Conference. So, when you say, what did you learn from those guys? We learned a lot from our mentors and coaches, but man, that young second generation of coaches that came in, we went to another level. We went to a national level. Again, Scott Goodell, Coach Jackson, I think they were ranked 3rd in the country, during his years, 3rd and I think 5th one of the years. Southern was in the mix. So just unbelievable how good we got.
Man, Coach, that rundown was chicken noodle soup for my wrestling fan soul from New Jersey, because that is, my childhood. A lot of those coaches you mentioned that came up with you in the 90s, and then I graduated 05, so I was there kind of at the beginning of that kind of boom when all the clubs started kind of coming on the scene. And you mentioned, I don't know, it was like 13, maybe 10, 13 coaches that came from that generation in the 90s. What is there anything you can kind of pinpoint? Was there more people going to clubs? Were you guys going to camps, Team New Jersey. What was there anything you can kind of pinpoint with that group of guys and why that kind of led Region 6 to another stratosphere?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you this. That first generation of coaches, those guys that were our coaches, they were cutthroat. They did not get along.
Hmm.
Uh, they were competitive, but man, they didn't get along, and they would backstab and do whatever they needed to do to win. And all of a sudden, we became the next generation. We got along, and I give a lot of credit to Vinnie Santinello, again, a guy from that '90s era that was a huge club coach at Sure Thing. And then Steve Rivera was a late '80s from Manalapan. So all those guys I mentioned too were all Shore Conference guys. They all wrestled in the Shore Conference. So we all stayed home, but yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things. Like I said, I really think us getting along with Vinny and Steve was huge. You hear it today. There's a lot of club coaches that don't get along with the high school coaches. Where Vinny, I tell you, Vinny has called me numerous times. Hey, listen, I think your guy needs to work on this, this, and this. I can call him anytime and say, hey, we're struggling, finish his single. Can you stay with him a little bit and work? And Vinny was awesome as far as doing anything and anything yet we ask. And that's what it's about. We got to work together. And I feel like that's what all of those coaches did. And you guys remember being at a region practice and, it didn't matter. You'd grab any coach and they'd stay with you, work with you. And we wanted to see you succeed. We hated you, competed against you come the season. But once the postseason hit, Region 6 had a huge crowd down in Atlantic City. Huge. You come off with a big win and you hear the entire, arena cheering Region 6 guys on and Shore Conference guys on. And it's just awesome.